What's up, YouTube? Welcome to ExceedTheHype.com. It's your boy Lucrecio coming at you with another video. Alright, today's video is entitled Cavaliers Can Improve with a Kyrie Trade. Alright, because that's exactly what they can do. So let's take a look at the situation. So Kyrie Irving decided that he wanted to play for another team, wanted to be a franchise player or whatever the case may be. So when Kyrie Irving says that he wants to leave your championship team and go become a franchise player with his own team, what you say to Kyrie Irving is, thank you for everything you did for this franchise. Thank you for playing from October straight through June, 3 years in a row. Thank you for your, great performances in the regular season and in the playoffs. And thank you for bringing a lot of excitement to the city. All right, now, and bid you adieu. And the next thing you do after you bid Kyrie adieu is you call up the Phoenix Suns and you say, hey, James Jones or whoever GM is, I will trade you, if you're very serious about getting Kyrie as your point guard, I will trade you Kyrie for Eric Bledsoe and your choice of Josh Jackson or Devin Booker. All right, so let's talk about Devin Booker for a second. Devin Booker, in my opinion, is a better version of Michael Redd. If you remember Michael Redd from the Milwaukee Bucks or whatever, great three-point shooter, I always thought he was like LeBron's basketball soulmate or whatever, the guy who belonged next to LeBron on the basketball court, the ideal complementary player to LeBron. I think Devin Booker is that same type of player, except Devin Booker's a little bit better. He can create a little bit off the dribble. So I absolutely think, and he can attack the basket or whatever the case may be. So I absolutely think that Devin Booker would be an outstanding match next to LeBron. All right, let's talk about Eric Bledsoe. One thing I really like about the Eric Bledsoe pairing with LeBron is that Eric Bledsoe, he thinks like a point guard, right? Early in his career, he reminded me of Russell Westbrook, just not necessarily as good or as big, but he thinks like a point guard. He has a point guard's mentality. Even though he doesn't average a whole lot of assists, he does look to get others involved. He doesn't necessarily have to have the ball in his hands, though. He is a good catch and shoot type spot up shooter as well. Him switching ball handling duties with LeBron, I doubt would be a huge problem, and I doubt would get in Eric Bledsoe's way as a basketball player. So to have a backcourt playing next to LeBron of Devin Booker and Eric Bledsoe would be very good. But it gets better because the Cavs just signed a free agent who used to be an MVP, right? So they signed Derrick Rose to $2 million. He's gonna be, and supposedly he's already embraced and already expects to come off the bench and be a six-man role. What I want to say today is that if he has truly embraced that role, he will be the sixth man of the year next year, assuming that he's healthy. Because the guy still has a whole lot of talent. He still has a lot of speed. He still has a lot of athleticism. Last year, the last 2 seasons, he's been fairly healthy. He's been pretty healthy. I think he played 65 games his last year in Chicago, and I think he played around 60 games this past year. So he's been healthy the last couple years. He's been in bad situations. I think if you bring him off the bench and he has a Jamal Crawford type role where your job is to get in the game and attack the basket and get buckets for this team, right? I think he would be perfect in that role. Also, I think he's not just a backup for Eric Bledsoe. In my opinion, he's a backup for LeBron James. Last year, we saw the Cavs struggled greatly when LeBron was off the court or sitting out a game. We saw in the finals, he couldn't even really get any legitimate rest because he had to be in the game, because not only was he trying to guard KD, and KD was scoring 30, he was trying to get 30, he was trying to get the points or whatever. He had to create everything or create most of the other stuff for his teammates to keep them involved, because he's not like he can outscore the Warriors himself. It's too much of a workload with no rest, right? So what Derrick Rose brings to the table is that since he can attack the basket so effectively and attack the rim and score buckets or whatever, he's going to make the defense adjust to him. So with that being the case, he'll be able to free up some of that space and free up some of those shooters or whatever, the Kyle Korver on one wing and J.R. Smith on the other wing, because J.R. Smith, I believe, will still be there, but he'll be moved to a 6-man role, or he'll be moved to the bench or whatever. So I absolutely think Derrick Rose will be big for them as a 6th man, and Devin Booker and Eric Bledsoe will be the backcourt that he needs, with Derrick Rose and J.R. Smith coming off the bench with Kyle Korver in the mix too. All right, so that's the backcourt. I believe that would really make Cleveland have a lot of depth in the backcourt, and it'll give them a really explosive. Because you also have to remember, Devin Booker isn't just like a point guard or whatever. He's an incredible athlete. So he can also attack the basket. That's another person who he can attack the basket. He can also stretch the floor. So once you have all those guys in place, that's your backcourt. A lot of depth, a lot of combinations you can throw at the situation or whatever. So let's talk about the front court. Where are the problems in the front court? Well, I'll tell you where the problems are not. The problems are not at the small forward position, unless we're talking about a backup or whatever, which they got Jeff Green, so I think they'll be good there. And it's not at center. Backup center may be something to look into or whatever, but Tristan Thompson will still be their center. He's a very modern type center, somebody who can get rebounds. And I think Tristan Thompson has the ability to possibly lead a team in rebounds or lead the NBA in rebounds. So the problem is going to be that power forward position. Now, even though Kevin Love had a great season last year, he was an all-star, 19-10, and it should have been 22-10. Because he really had an outstanding season. But I do believe they absolutely have to cut Kevin Love and trade him to another team. The reason why I feel like it just doesn't work is because even though you will continue to get out of the Eastern Conference, every time the matchup comes Cavs and Warriors in the finals or whatever, if it's Cavs and Spurs, I think Kevin Love would be a huge factor and would help push the Cavaliers over the hump or whatever. But we all know it's probably not going to be the Cavs versus the Spurs in the finals. It could be a number of teams, but likely, in all likelihood, it's going to be Golden State again. And if it's Golden State, Kevin Love just doesn't work because he's the matchup that they keep trying to pick on or whatever. So I believe what the Cavs will end up doing, since New York doesn't seem to want to trade, even though they wanted it a couple months ago, but they don't seem to want it anymore. New York, since they don't want to trade it straight up, I'm assuming the Cavs may end up getting a draft pick from Phoenix or from somebody or whatever. Probably a low first rounder is what you're going to be looking at. And maybe the situation may be Kevin Love and Cavs first rounder for Melo and New York Knicks New York Knicks are probably going to have a pretty bad record. So we'll see. Maybe Kevin Love and a second round pick for Melo or whatever. Just something to tilt it a little bit so they can get Melo on the Cavaliers if he chooses to go there. Because I do believe adding Carmelo to that team will add the firepower that you lost when Kyrie Irving leaves, right? When Kyrie Irving goes to New York or goes to Phoenix or wherever he's going to end up going or whatever, you do lose that firepower. You get better defensively. The ball might move a little bit smoother. The playmaking might, get better. And like I said, defense might get better. But one thing, you're not going to have that nuclear missile to launch at any time like you had with Kyrie Irving. There's only a couple players like that. You get some of it back with Devin Booker. You don't really get it back with Eric Bledsoe. Eric Bledsoe will give you some offense, but it's not going to be nearly as explosive as the offensive threat that Kyrie is. You get some of it back with Eric Bledsoe, with Devin Booker. But the one you really get it back with, and the ability to score on any particular possession in an ISO set, is Carmelo Anthony. So you add him on that team, and I really feel like that would kind of even up the score a little bit between the Cavaliers and, the Western Conference, whether it's Golden State, whether it's whoever comes out of the West, right? I think Melo in place of Love and the combination of Eric Bledsoe and Devin Booker instead of Kyrie Irving, it gives them a lot more depth, and it just makes them harder to guard, and it makes them a better defensive team. Once again, you have a team with with basically 4 wing type players or whatever. You have Carmelo as your 4, LeBron as your 3, and you have Devin Booker as the 3, as the 2 guard, with Eric Bledsoe being a very versatile defender who could even though he's on like 6'2" or whatever, somebody who could possibly switch over and guard most 2s or whatever, just because he's that good defensively. So you have a team that's better defensively, that's more versatile or whatever. And then you have Tristan Thompson, who's also a very versatile center. So I feel like the Kyrie trade could absolutely come in handy. Even though you're losing a great player and a great offensive threat and a lot of firepower or whatever, you can gain firepower, and then you can also, as a team, become better and possibly be tougher to guard than having 2 guys going ISO all the time. You have multiple threats. You have a situation where 4 people on the floor can both shoot a 3 if they're open, and attack the closeout if that closeout, because we all know Golden State is fast. Those guys are fast when it comes to closing on 3-pointers. So you have somebody who can attack the basket off the dribble when they're trying to close out too fast or whatever. So I believe a trade of Kyrie Irving, even though you're losing everything that comes with him, could actually make the Cavaliers better. All right, let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with my assessment. Let me know, what trades do you think are out there for Kyrie Irving and whatever's going on. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. All right, see you next time.